All right, let's dive into something fascinating today. We're going to unpack the big ideas from a book called The Subconscious Investor. Now, this book makes a pretty bold claim that you can actually reprogram your mind to see the money-making opportunities that almost everyone else is blind to. So let's get right into it.
So here's the big question, right? Why do some people consistently seem to spot the next big thing, while the rest of us are left wondering how we missed it? You see them succeed and you think, what's their secret? Do they just have all the luck, better connections? What is it? Well, according to the book we're looking at, the secret isn't some external advantage. It's actually something much, much closer to home. And here it is. The answer isn't about what's in your wallet. It's about what's in your mind. That's the core idea here. The biggest thing holding you back isn't your bank balance, it's the software running in your head. True wealth, it doesn't start with what you have, but with what you've been trained to see. Okay, so what is this thing that's really holding most of us back? It's not the stock market, it's not the economy, it's what the book calls the investor's blind spot. And the tricky thing about a blind spot is that you can't see it because, well, it's part of you. Yeah, the best way to picture this is like an invisible wall. It's built brick by brick from all our past experiences, our deepest fears, and the beliefs about money we picked up when we were kids. And this wall, man, it does one of two things. It either completely blocks our view of the opportunities that are practically shining in front of us, or it makes us freeze up right at the moment when we need to take action. So, let's get to know this powerful, hidden force a little better. You gotta understand, it's not your enemy. It's more like a co-pilot who's been flying your plane on autopilot, but it's using a map from like 1985. Our job isn't to fight it. It's just to hand it a new, updated GPS. So what exactly is the subconscious mind? It's not just some fuzzy, vague feeling. Think of it as a supercomputer, a massive database that's constantly running in the background. It's stored every single belief, habit, and fear you've ever had. And that programming, it influences pretty much every single choice you make, especially the big ones, like what you do with your money.
And here's how this plays out in the real world. You know, if you grew up hearing things like, money is hard to earn, your subconscious is going to constantly steer you away from anything it sees as a risk. Or maybe you had one bad investment years ago. Now, every time the market dips even a little, that fear trigger goes off and you panic sell. These aren't logical decisions you're making in the moment. They're automatic habits, subconscious programs just running on a loop.
All right, so if our minds are running on these old, buggy programs, how do we actually debug the system? Well, the first step is to identify the bugs themselves. We've got to pinpoint the specific mental traps. Psychologists call them cognitive biases that are keeping us stuck. Let's break down a few of the big ones. First up, confirmation bias. You know how this works. You buy a stock, and suddenly every article you read confirms what a genius you are. The fix? You have to force yourself to read the stuff that argues you're wrong. Then there's loss aversion, where the fear of losing money is way stronger than the excitement of gaining it. And, of course, herd mentality. That's just following the crowd, usually right off a cliff. The key for all of these is to have a system, a plan, that overrides your emotional instincts. Let's make loss aversion really concrete. Imagine this. You've done all your research on a company, the fundamentals are solid, you invest. The next day, it dips a little bit. Your rational brain says, hey, no big deal, this is a long-term play. But that subconscious co-pilot, it's screaming, mayday, eject, sell now before it goes to zero. That feeling, that gut-wrenching pain of a potential loss, is so powerful it just hijacks your decision-making. That's your subconscious grabbing the controls and putting the plane into a nosedive. Okay, so we've identified the problem, we see the bugs in the system, so what's the solution? How do we actually fix this? This is where it gets really exciting, because according to the book, you can actively reprogram your own mindset. You can rewrite the code. Let's look at how. Here's the toolkit for doing that reprogramming. First, you've got affirmations. And look, this isn't just fluffy, wishful thinking. It's about literally carving out new neural pathways. When you repeat something like, I recognize profitable opportunities, you're slowly overriding that old money is scarce program. Step 2, visualization. Think of it like a flight simulator for your finances. You mentally rehearse making a successful investment over and over. So when a real opportunity shows up, your brain goes, oh yeah, I've been here before. I know what to do. And finally, a pattern journal. This is huge. You track trends, anomalies, your own decisions, and you start training your subconscious to spot patterns all on its own. So, what's the payoff for all this work? What happens when you actually use these tools consistently? You start to develop what the book calls an opportunity radar. And honestly, this is the superpower you're working towards. And let's be super clear about this. This radar isn't magic. It's not a psychic power. It's a trained skill. It's your subconscious mind, now fed with all this new positive data and pattern recognition, starting to connect the dots way faster than your conscious mind ever could. It's that gut feeling that tells you to pay attention to something, but now that feeling is actually based on a solid foundation of deliberate mental training. And this, right here, becomes your unfair advantage. While everyone else is drowning in spreadsheets and news reports, your trained subconscious is plucking the signal out of the noise. It helps you see things others overlook. You'll notice patterns. You'll gain a confidence to act even when you don't have all the information, because your intuition isn't a random guess anymore. It's a finely tuned pattern recognition machine. This quote really just wraps it all up perfectly. True wealth begins in the mind, when we see what others miss and act on it with confidence and clarity. It's not about who has the biggest pile of cash to start with. It's about who has trained their mind to see the value, the opportunity that's invisible to everyone else. That right there is the real secret.
And so that leaves us with one final, really important question for you. This isn't just interesting theory, right? It's a call to action. You now have the basic toolkit to start tuning your own subconscious. So the question is, what opportunity are you going to train your mind to see first?